So I had promised to give you some regular updates whilst I was reading this book, 80/20 Running, which I'm planning to apply to my running this year to try and get a half marathon personal best. And it's been a while since I've given you anything. So I have finished it actually. It's really good, really interesting on the approach to 80/20 running. Which, if you remember from my last video, it's about running 80% of your runs at low intensity and 20% at high intensity. Lots of things to take in, lots of different ways to apply the 80/20 rule. It's not just black and white, run one fast run and the rest of them slow. You're mixing them up a bit, the different intensity levels within each of your runs, various ways to monitor your intensity levels, but I'll go into all of that in future videos. The main thing I want to talk about is the ability to slow down. Now that's really not as easy as you might think. In fact, running at a high intensity is easy. You just run fast for as long as you can, and there you go, you're running at a high intensity. But slowing down to a level that's regarded as low intensity, it really is tough, considering that what you think is slow at the beginning of a run isn't necessarily slow because you're feeling fresher. And then as you get towards the end of a run, you start to get tired, and even though you may think it's slow, your heart rate's going up higher. It's quite tough actually. So, excuse me, I've been trying a few things to try and come up with the best way for me to run at a low intensity. And for me, just running slow doesn't seem to cut it. My heart rate creeps up into the high intensity and moderate intensity zones fairly quickly, really, just after a kilometre or so. And I just mentioned heart rate and training zones, which again is another thing I'll go into in a future video. So heart rate is currently what I've been doing, just to practice slowing down and trying to monitor what my heart rate is doing at different speeds. So I do have a rough idea of what my high, middle and low intensity training zones are. And I can't just run. I can't just run slow. So what I've been trying is a mixture of running and walking. So I was trying different combinations. I started off with 5 minutes running, followed by a minute walking, and monitored my heart rate. And that it worked for a little longer than just slowing down and continuously running. But it doesn't take long before your heart rate starts to creep up into those higher energy thresholds towards the end of your 5 minute blocks. So I've tried 4 minutes, 1 minute, and I've tried 3 minutes and 1 minute. I've tried long runs where I've started off 5 and 1, and then gone down to 4 and 1 and 3 and 1, and they all begin to work. My heart rate is staying lower for longer, but it's not ideal. It's still, a significant proportion of my longer runs, or my 20k plus runs, are still creeping up into the higher intensity bands. So what I've been trying this week is actually just responding to my heart rate. Literally on my watch here, I've got a Garmin. Let's take it off. I've got a Garmin 235, and one of the displays on this watch is heart rate zone. So you plug your heart rate into your app, and it uploads it to your watch, and I can tell when I'm in zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as soon as I start creeping out of zone 2, I start walking until my heart rate goes back down to zone 2, and then I start to run again slowly, and my heart rate will creep up to zone 3, and I'll start walking again. And it's just, surprisingly, I thought that would be a pain, but it doesn't seem too bad actually. And I stuck with that for a couple of runs last week and this week, and only shorter runs, 5 to 10k runs, but it seemed to work, and my pace wasn't that much different to my run walk approach, but I'm spending more time in my lower training zones. So I would suggest trying that. If you really want to give this a go, you really need to practice at running slow. Before you do anything else, just practice running slow and get an idea of how slow you actually have to run. Obviously, you need to establish your heart rate training zones, and the book talks a lot about that, and I'll talk a bit more about that. I guess that's a good topic for my next video. And yeah, and also the ways to monitor your heart rate and other ways to monitor your pace and your high and low intensity zones. So yeah, I guess that's it from me really. Yeah, this is about slowing down. Focus on that. First thing you do before you put any of these plans into place, you know, get to know what it's like to slow down and how slow you need to go to be in your, your low intensity, moderate and high intensity zones. Okay, cheers, bye.